Drop it. All right, power panel. Cenk, Uygur, Adrienne, Lawrence, Brooke, Thomas, everybody. All right, fun and disastrous stories ahead.
Yeah, really just disastrous.
Yeah, mainly disastrous, but still, not in the rundown. But Will Hurd, one of the last remaining so-called modern Republicans, is stepping down. So there are, and he's the last African American Republican in the House, gone. So that was a dying breed to begin with, and now it's officially dead. So, and Democrats will likely pick up that seat, but it goes to show you what the Republican Party's about. So we've got some clashes between the Republicans and Democrats today, and unfortunately we have a number of stories of clashes with the police and the citizens. It's usually not how it's supposed to go, but as you know, if you know anything about American history or current day, that is often how it goes. All right, having said that, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. A New York administrative judge has recommended NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo be fired. And of course, that is the officer at the center of the death of Eric Garner. You're seeing that video right there. The judge found Officer Daniel Pantaleo, who has been on modified administrative duty in the year since Garner's death on a Staten Island street corner, guilty of using a chokehold on the 43-year-old father, which of course is banned under NYPD policy. This is just a recommendation because whether Pantaleo will keep his job is actually up to the police commissioner, the city's police commissioner. His name is James O'Neill. But the NYPD did announce the officer has been suspended effective today in keeping with longstanding practice when there is a recommendation for firing. And we do have a video, and I think it's important to continue to show this just of what happened to Eric Garner that day. And it's been 5 years. Take a look.
I'm minding my business. Please just leave me alone. I told you the last time. Please just leave me alone. Please don't touch me. Don't touch me. Hold on. Don't touch me, please.
Came over.
Do not touch me. Damn.
All right, stop. Give us your hands, buddy.
Put your hand behind your back. I can't breathe.
Yeah, and it never gets better. It's just as horrific the 20th time watching it as it was the first time. And the cops are protesting de Blasio all over. Before the debates, the cops went all the way down to Miami to do a protest to de Blasio. De Blasio hasn't even fired the guy. I think he's acting way too slow on it. Otherwise, very good progressive. But on this issue, I'm sure that he has his hands full with the police constantly crying and crying and crying. Why can't we murder people in the streets? Why can't we just kill them? Oh, boo-hoo us. You won't let us murder citizens by choking them to death. So I wish he was a little bit stronger there. No, I wish he was a lot stronger there. And so look, I know it has to go through some process. I know that there's a lot of good reasons and bad reasons for, hey, we had to let the federal Justice Department weigh in on it. It's Trump's Justice Department. We knew what they were gonna do, right? Now they were waiting for the judge is waiting. Now we gotta wait for the police commissioner. Well, gee, I wonder where the cops are gonna come out on this. Look, at the end of the day, they might fire the guy because of too much political pressure. But to me, that isn't really the issue. Like, the cops say, hey, it's not fair. They tell us all the time that this is a seatbelt maneuver and we could do it. And so you guys are taking it out on Pantaleo when we do this stuff all the time. In a sense, that's right? And then the community says, well, don't choke us to death. And that's definitely right. So what's the correct answer? The correct answer is, don't let the cops choke people to death on the streets. Fix the actual policy, Don't tell me, look, you can't have it both ways. Either you really do have a policy against chokeholds, and this was a chokehold, and it's the autopsy said it was a homicide. It was the chokehold that led to the death, okay? And you're like, no, listen, guys, man, we do not allow this under any goddamn circumstances. And this guy's a bad apple. And the cops should be the ones most aggressively pursuing this guy for making the rest of them look bad. Out of control guy who choked someone to death on a street, and now all the cops look bad. And they're, by the way, you're cops. You're supposed to be law enforcement, and you should go after Pantaleo. If it's not the case, then you say, hey, you know what? Then we'll get to Pantaleo, but I'm gonna fire his boss first. Fire his boss first, right? Because his boss apparently allows this. And now they're all defending it like, oh yeah, of course. Why can't I just choke our own citizens to death? Well, okay, then you should all be fired. You should all be fired then. So which one is it? Should we fire that one cop who killed Garner? Or should we fire all of the bosses in the New York Police Department who think that this is a perfectly fine thing to do, to choke their own citizens to death?
And I want to show you something that the city's police union said, calling the judge's recommendation pure political insanity, and saying this: if it is allowed to stand, the ruling, it will paralyze the NYPD for years to come. And they actually kind of threatened the commissioner, saying that the commissioner will lose his police department if he follows the judge's recommendation.
Good, I hope he does.
Right.
I hope every goddamn racist in the New York Police Department resigns immediately. Goes, oh my God, now I can't choke black people to death in the middle of the street. I resign, good, get the f out. Oh, God damn it. Man, I get worked up, I'm sorry about that. I mean, the nerve of people, the nerve of the cops to say, now you're not gonna let us choke the citizens to death? And oh my God, you'll lose me if you don't let me murder citizens in the streets for no goddamn reason. Good, I wanna lose you. Look, I'm gonna go through this for the billionth time on the show. Oh, you guys are against all cops. No, I'm against the training. I'm against a system, a culture that says that this is okay. If it wasn't okay, then we would all agree. The cops would agree, the mayor would agree, everybody would agree. Well, obviously the guy did something that was not okay, so he should be fired, right? Like in a normal work environment, if you went up and started choking someone and killed them, that would not be okay. That would not be okay. You would immediately be fired. If you weren't fired, people might think that it was okay, that you could go around in a work environment and choke your co-workers to death, or pick any other example.
Right.
At a McDonald's, wherever, right? Oh no, it's cops, they're allowed to murder people. No, they're not. It's actually quite the opposite. They have an extra responsibility with the power, the badge, and the gun that they have to be more careful, not less careful. It's their job to be careful. It's their job to protect us and not kill us. If they can't handle that job, they should leave. They should resign or be fired.
And something to kind of just bring up in terms of how broken the NYPD system is so in 2014, the year Eric Garner was murdered, that's the year that the Internal Affairs started tracking police complaints about bias. And from that time forward, they've received 2,500 complaints. 68% of those complaints about the police have been biased based on race or color. Internal Affairs has substantiated none of them, saying that none of them hold any weight whatsoever.
Yeah, all black people are lying. Yeah, that's a good policy. Oh, if you don't let us smear every black citizens of New York and every minority in New York, well then we're gonna resign. Please, I'm begging you, do it. Can we get, look, now I am mad at de Blasio. The answer should be, look, police commissioner, you do whatever you want, okay? You got a job to do, you make any decision you're comfortable with. I'm not interfering with it, but I also have a job to do. You make your decision, then I'll make my decision, okay? If you don't fire him and his boss and his boss's boss, you're so goddamn fired, and I'll fire everyone that thinks that this is an acceptable policy, because I'm not gonna let one more black man die in the streets because the cops would like to do it and get away with it.
And that's so important. It's something that Eric Garner's daughter said. She said, finally someone has said this cop has done something wrong. And we haven't even gotten just that, somebody saying it, the mayor saying this, but what we have gotten is him almost running on part of his platform is like, showing how police brutality affects his son, as if he doesn't run a police department, as if he's not the mayor of the biggest police department in our country, as if he can't even just speak out against what happened. Like, we haven't had him just say that.
Yep, and the thing is too that really gets me, because I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. I trained to be a cop. I have tons of friends in the NYPD and I love them greatly. And it's unfortunate because so many of them provide a public service, but then you have individuals like this Pantaleo gentleman who essentially choked Garner to death. And then on top of that, you have people in Staten Island who are unwilling to indict the attorney's office, unwilling to do something about it. And then you have the police department also unwilling to do something about it. You finally have the Citizen Civil Review Board saying he needs to be fired. Then you have this administrative law judge saying he needs to be fired. But now we have to wait for the commissioner to actually do something. And only in 73% of cases does he actually punish the person, and only in 42% of those cases does he actually go with the punishment that's recommended. So we're sitting here with a 50-50, is this guy gonna be fired? And so if he does get fired for political reasons, that's fine, as long as it gets done to send the message that needs to be sent. And then everyone else also gets handled accordingly, because this is not okay.
So progressives, when you get into elected office, be stronger.
Yeah.
The cops are going to complain and put pressure on you. So what? They do that anyway.
Somebody's dead.
Yeah. First of all, who cares, right? So be mayor only one time. Who cares? At least be super strong and do what you know is right. And by the way, the people will back you if you do that. And then second of all, it's not like they go easy on you anyway. They do protests about you anyway. What is there left to lose? And you think you're ever going to appease these guys? Never, never. And look, I know there's such justifiable emphasis on Pantaleo because he's the one who actually did it. But that, to me, that is actually, as horrific as it is, relatively minor compared to all the people defending him. Yeah. To all the people saying he is not a bad guy, that this is a perfectly acceptable thing to do. That other cops should also murder citizens in the street. Well, that's a much bigger problem. Because that's saying the NYPD is not here to serve and protect. It's an occupying force for the powerful in New York. Maybe they work for the rich in Manhattan. And if you are doing, on that day, he wasn't even selling loose cigarettes. He was actually trying to be a good Samaritan, okay? We don't care. We'll kill you with impunity. And if anyone dares to question our impunity, we'll put a ton of pressure on them saying we should get to kill people. No, and if you don't understand that this is a sick culture that is in so many police departments in this country, then you don't get it. They're supposed to serve and protect us, but the us is not the citizens. The us is a few powerful people. That's all they serve, and for the rest of us, they're an occupying force.
It is. It's the system. It's the brotherhood. It's the union president's response. That's it. And the fact that we're talking about one officer, but as you mentioned, there was a gang of officers there that day. There were multiple people who could have been like, get up, move your hand. It's just cigarettes, move your arm. There's a gang of things that could have happened, and it is you can't protect the brotherhood more than you
do your
protect
job.
Like the goodness. If you care so much about everybody not being like hit with this cloud of negativity, then kick people to the curb when they're terrible, when they make you look bad. And that I have never once seen that happen. No. And it's frustrating.
Brooke, there's such a good point about the gang, and they're all ganging up on him there. And then, you'll see some violence sometimes on websites of a couple. In fact, we covered ASAP Rocky the other day, and it was a couple of guys against one guy that they had provoked. Yeah, it's a long story, right? But it was a couple of guys against one guy, and it kind of turns your stomach. But look at that. That's a whole bunch of guys, a gang of guys empowered by the city, with badges, with power, who have the license to kill and a gun, all ganging up on one guy. If that doesn't turn your stomach, he didn't do anything wrong that day. He wasn't the target, okay? He was actually trying to break up a fight. But hey, it's a big black guy, okay, good enough. He didn't listen to the cop for 1 second, good enough to kill him, good enough to kill him. If you're on that side, I'm not on your side. And for all the people who are constantly trying to be neutral. Well, I mean, some people say you should be able to murder black people, and others say you shouldn't. That is not a goddamn neutral argument. No, you should not be allowed to do that. What the hell kind of police do we run? And so still, right this minute, still not fired, and still has most of the cops in his gang back him up. Look, guys, last thing. If I had a gun, I would be more responsible, not less responsible. Man, I'd be really, really worried about what to do with that gun. I don't want it going off. I don't want it to hurt someone, right? But even without the guns and even without the badges, if me and a bunch of guys went out and one of them was choking a guy to death, you know what I would do? I'd jump on my friend and pull him off so he doesn't kill the guy.
Right, that's right.
That seems logical.
So why are the cops have the opposite mentality? The cops should pull the guy off even more, not less. But they're like, oh, one of our own is killing someone. Oh, good, all right, good job. Let us know when you're done, okay? And then afterwards, they're like, well, good, he had to. That's the law, that's the policy. He had to murder the guy. I'm tired of it, man. We're all tired of it. And so if you want to cry about, oh my God, you don't respect the cops. First of all, you should go cry about your own president who doesn't think you should follow the law and hates law enforcement. We actually want the law, we want the rule of law, but we want it for all of the citizens. It's not too much to ask for. It just isn't. If you think it's too much to ask for to protect all citizens equally, then you're not American and you should leave.
I agree. Okay, so we have to move on to our next story here. Representative, we're actually gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break.
All right, yeah, okay, so we'll see if I can calm down enough not to curse. Okay, but the rest of the stories are not going to help that situation.
No.
Okay, so Trump goes after Cummings again in a way that is not just childish, but you guys, people who follow Trump you're so pathetic, you're so sad. I'm gonna explain how sad you are when we come back. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you wanna get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back on the Young Turks, a couple of quick comments first. Neil says, any person who looks at that video and sees nothing wrong is a person I would never take my eyes off of. Agreed. And never be friends with. So they, like Joe Biden keeps wanting me to get along with people, right? Oh, why don't you just get along with like segregationists and Republicans and Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump? No, I'm not gonna get along with someone who looks at that video and thinks, oh, that was the right thing to do. To murder that guy in the streets was the right thing to do. Well, then you're a terrible person and I don't want anything to do with you. Silent Approval says, remember Ramsey Orta, the person who filmed the murder, was harassed and eventually thrown in jail. Yeah. That's right, because the NYPD gang decided, oh, hey, this affects us a little bit. Oh my God, how dare you? So you revealed the truth. The truth is the worst thing corrupt people can deal with, so they threw him in jail, okay? Yeah. That's how sick this system is. By the way, there's a lot of cops who watch this show and like this show, and I see them in the streets all the time, we talk, etc. But guys, you gotta start standing up, man, especially if you're in a position of authority. You gotta stand up and say, I can't take it anymore. We gotta stop killing people. And are we ever gonna do anything about the training? Are we ever gonna do anything about like, hey, you guys keep telling us, get the situation under control, kick their ass, slam their heads into the ground, do chokeholds, pull out your gun immediately, don't take any risks. Stop telling us that. It's crazy. That's what's leading to everybody getting killed. So anyway, last one. David Simpson from Twitter says that chokehold isn't even allowed in UFC.
Wow.
And Cenk, the seatbelt maneuver is going under one arm and over the opposite shoulder to restrain. I know, brother. It's a total BS excuse. Yes. Thank you for giving clarity on the specifics of it, but there is no allowed maneuver of any sort where you put your arm on the guy's throat. It's just it's not a thing that exists. Okay, so now look, you see me worked up here. I hope I'm not this worked up because I'm about to debate one of our own hosts. It's a new show we're running this summer called Agitprop. It's with Hassan Piker, and he's taking on the capitalist system. I guess the Bear Turk right there. tyt.com/agitprop.
The Bear Turk.
That's fantastic. I do like that.
Yeah. But actually, the first guy he's gonna come at is me, because I still call myself a capitalist, and so we're gonna have a 2-hour debate.
Oh wow.
Okay, by the end, can he get me to become a full-blown socialist? Okay, we'll find out. Well, or you'll find out if you watch. Make sure you go to tyt.com/agitprop. That starts on Tuesday, next Tuesday. Okay, and then on a lighter note, Lance Reddick is gonna join Brett Ehrlich on Happy Half Hour. No, they will not be going to Agitprop right afterwards. And there will be no bats involved in that one, only drinking, okay?
Lieutenant Daniels.
Yes, Lieutenant, see, now that's a good cop.
That's
Great.
He was great, yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, The Wire's such a good show.
Okay, speaking of cops and prisons.
Yes. So Angelinos on Monday, August 5th, 8 a.m. Jews Against ICE protest. We're gonna be protesting Geo Group. That's a private prison company that operates ICE detention, and it'll be at Triangle Park. So if you're in Los Angeles or from Los Angeles, please come down and join us. It's going to be an extremely moving and impactful protest.
Did you say Jews Against ICE?
Correct.
Okay, oh, I love that group. Okay, so we've broken some stories that they've quoted as well, and some of about their protests and the ICE's reaction to their protests. Check that out on tyt.com under TYT Investigates. All right, what's next, Brooke?
All right, so Congressman Elijah Cummings, his home was actually broken into, and the president responded with sarcasm. It's so weird calling him the president, but here's what happened. Cummings said, "I was notified of the intrusion by my security system, and I scared the intruder away by yelling before the person gained entry into the residential portion of the house." So Donald Trump tweeted a response, and he said, "Really bad news. The Baltimore house of Elijah Cummings was robbed. Too bad." Here's the thing, the burglary happened early Saturday morning, right before Trump started his week of racist attacks against the congressman and the entire city of Baltimore, essentially. You'll remember it started with these tweets. This is Rep. Elijah Cummings has been a brutal bully, shouting and screaming at the great men and women of Border Patrol about conditions at the southern border, when actually his Baltimore district is far worse and more dangerous. His district is considered the worst in the USA, as proven last week during a congressional tour. The border is clean, efficient, and well run, just very crowded. Cummings' district is a disgusting rat and rodent infested mess. He said infested. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. And here's the thing, Trump has actually tweeted something about Representative Cummings or the city of Baltimore every single day since he started doing this Saturday morning. And then only to lead up to say earlier this week that African Americans were happy with his attacks. Watch this.
The White House and myself and letters and emails and phone calls have received more phone calls than I think on any other subject of people from Baltimore and other cities corruptly run by Democrats thanking me for getting involved. Those people are living in hell in Baltimore. They're largely African American. You have a large African American population, and they really appreciate what I'm doing, and they've let me know it.
What do you think, guys? Are you appreciative?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where this African American community that was calling him.
Oh, please.
I guess I'm not a part of it, and it's weird because I thought my whole life.
I've been discriminated like I have been, so gosh.
Also, today's making light of the burglary, that was just a bit too far for Nikki Haley, of course, the former UN ambassador to the US ambassador, to the UN, which is also still kind of weird to say. She had been defending Trump's tweets, his racism against Baltimore, but today she replied with, "This is so unnecessary," which caused Kellyanne Conway to hit Haley back with, "This is so unnecessary." So it's like you can't even just stay quiet when you see just even more.
Okay, so there's two things. Let me do the tweet first.
Okay.
If you notice at the end of their tweet, Kellyanne Conway said Trump Pence 2020. So now why does she put that in the tweet? Because she's saying, don't think about running against us. That's what that is about. Okay, now, which then leads you to question, why did Nikki Haley send the tweet in the first place?
Yeah, that's
okay,
exactly what I was thinking.
And which then leads you to realize that some people inside the Republican Party are now counseling Nikki Haley that she should consider running against Trump. Now, Trump has a stranglehold, if you will, on the Republican base. So everybody knows it's a fool's errand to run against Trump in a primary if the primary was tomorrow on the Republican side. And Nikki Haley served under him, and she's been cowardly and craven and sucking up to him the whole time, trying to ride off his base. So why start to divert away from it right now, especially as the elections get closer and closer? Well, there must be some base of Republican politicians who not only think maybe there should be a revolt against Trump, but maybe know something that is going to put more damage on Trump soon and hence would open up an opportunity in a primary to run against him. Otherwise, right now, just going out and saying, oh yeah, I don't like Trump, is signing your own political death warrant in the Republican Party. And Nikki Haley is a slimy politician who would never do that. So she's angling. So she must think there's an angle. And other people are encouraging that angle. So what do they know about the state of Trump that we don't? Or perhaps they're finally beginning to realize, yeah, the guy's a goddamn lunatic. And at some point, this thing's gonna blow. And then we're gonna have no nominee. Well, then what the hell are we gonna do, right? So now back to the original story. Who writes about, look, there's a lot of corporate Democrats I can't stand. There's the entirety of the Republican Party pretty much I can't stand, or the elected officials. And although I'm gonna get to their voters in a second too. And then if their house got broken into, I don't think I'd ever write like, ha ha, yeah, too bad, right. Ha ha, right? Because I'm not a jerk. You guys, the guys who follow Trump, you're basically like the sad, dumb knucklehead that's sitting next to a third-rate villain and going, oh yeah, boss, yeah, too bad, right, boss? That's who Trump voters are. You're so sad and pathetic. The guy you're following is clearly the villain in the movie. I mean, which good guy in a movie, or any story you've ever heard, a childhood story, anything that has a moral of the story, does the hero ever go, ha, I'm glad you were hurt? I've never seen that. I've never seen that in all of human history. No story ends with, I'm glad you were hurt. Right? That's because it's in human nature to actually help people and to be decent and not to be a jerk like Donald Trump. And I'm trying to be as polite as possible, right? But there's a whole 25 to 30% of this country who goes, oh, I love people who are raging a-holes. I love them. And this guy's such a prick to people who don't look like me. I love that, right? Okay, then that's who you are. And media, I'm so tired of you with your neutrality. I don't know, on the one side, there's one guy saying, I'm glad your house was robbed. I'm gonna rub your face in it. And on the other, and a whole party, not just Trump, don't make that excuse. A whole party, all the elected officials, and their entire voter base going, yeah! Oh man, it's too bad there wasn't more damage, right? And then there's people going, oh my God, are you okay? And are otherwise decent human beings. And you call that even? It's not even. Republican voters are the worst. Oh, by the way, Republican voters, go ahead and get triggered. Go find a safe space and start crying right now. Okay, are we done with it?
No, I thought I was giving Adrienne. I feel like I talk all the time.
Oh no, it's like the situation with Cummings. It's clear that he essentially is in a position of power right now, being on the oversight committee and possibly being able to reach into Trump's finances, his dealings, what's going on in terms of the White House with the Hatch Act potential violations. And it's really interesting because when the Republicans were heading up this committee over the years, they really abused their subpoena power. And I think it was back in about 97 to 2002, Dan Burton, he sent over 1,000 subpoenas and a lot of them going directly to Bill Clinton's stuff to get info. And he abused it to no extremes. And hey, it's clear that Cummings could probably do that for Trump's situation as well. And so Trump decides to attack him.
So Adrienne, great point. And now you're gonna get me worked up again. Okay.
My bad.
So, look, Democrats, I'm so tired of you, man. So Trump calls Cummings a bully. Hilarious. Right. Obviously, Trump's the bully. I mean, again, we've also seen this in 1,000 movies and 1,000 stories throughout human history. What are you supposed to do with a bully? You're supposed to stand up to him. You're not supposed to cower. That only encourages him. So yes, you fight back with everything in your arsenal. Yes, something in your arsenal is called impeachment. I don't even want to get back into that. That's obvious to me. Now today, finally, a majority of the Democrats go, oh yeah, maybe we should impeach him, right? But beyond that, every one of you should be calling him what he is, a child, a loser, pathetic, failure. Every speech should start with now recollecting back on the 6 bankruptcies Donald Trump had because he's such a miserable failure. It's so easy to get under his skin. It's so easy. Why don't you pick up a microphone and say it? And then he'll attack wildly because he has no strategy. And he'll be an idiot. He'll be say, oh, I'm glad you were robbed. I'm glad you were kicked. I'm glad you were murdered. Whatever, he'll say anything because he's a terrible, terrible person. Just hand him some goddamn rope. But no, oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. What am I gonna do? Like 90% of them should be primary, the Democrats. You can't fight this guy, retire.
All right, let's move on to the next
All
one.
right.
All right, so a man actually had to be checked out in the hospital after being assaulted outside of a Trump rally in Cincinnati, Ohio. Take a look. Yeah, so it's being reported, several witnesses say the man who was later taken away by police, the man who threw the punch, is a Trump supporter. Yeah.
Really?
Right, shocker. But what is going on?
Yeah.
This isn't surprising, it's just brutal every time. It's hard to see every single time. Like you're so worked up and so angry about what another person is simply saying.
Yep.
That you get out of your car and hit them?
And the thing is, he didn't just get out of his car. This guy, Dallas Frazier, he's 29. He drove from someplace in Kentucky. He's 90 miles out of Cincinnati, Ohio, to be able to attend this rally. And then you see him get out of the car. He attacks a 61-year-old man. This man is twice his age, and he delivers 6 blows to him. It's like, are you absolutely crazy? You're going to fight this man for speaking out against Trump?
And
come on.
And this from the people who claim that they're advocates of free speech.
Yeah.
How do you like them apples?
Right.
So, Adrienne, I was gonna say the same thing. Who hits a 61-year-old?
Right.
Who punches a 61-year-old in the face who's not even defending himself?
Yep.
Right? And out of all the protesters, he picked that guy, right? He's like, oh no, not a young guy, not a big guy. Oh, the 61-year-old, I bet I could punch him in the face and get away with it. So, I mean, and then you wonder why you get called deplorable. Look,
it's horrible to watch. Like, why? What has you so worked up? Your person is the president right now. Why are you still so mad?
And they're willing to, essentially exact violence on behalf of the president.
Over and over and over
And they've
again.
shown it.
They're willing to go to jail behind their love.
And the thing is, he can only go for
president.
6 months. He's getting an assault misdemeanor 1 charge, up to 6 months and a $1,000 fine. It's like, come on, there should be something greater in this circumstance.
Is he gonna go to prison? I bet he doesn't.
No, for sure.
Yeah, probation, go pick up some garbage, etc.
Comes from a nice family.
Yeah, that's what they'll
Nice
say.
family.
Yeah, he looks like he comes from a nice family. You guys raised him right. So, by the way, he came out going, "You want some?" No, he didn't want any. That's not. He didn't. He's 61 years old. He didn't come to fight. Poor guy. I like his quote though. He said afterwards, "I didn't go down for what it's worth."
Oh, hey.
I was like, all right, brother, all right.
Take that.
So at least they did arrest him. And guys, on both sides, stop punching each other in the face because it's gonna devolve. It's already devolved. Punching someone in the face is already a terrible thing to do. And remember, there's 300 million guns in the country. Stop punching each other in the face. It was always a bad idea on any side.
So there's this other story. A Trump supporter actually in New York claims that he was assaulted by what he says is 15 to 18 kids just for wearing his Make America Great Again hat. His name is John Turin, and he said he couldn't identify the suspects in great detail because all of this unfolded in about 10 seconds. One girl flipped my hat, and then within 5-8 seconds, I got pushed from the back and my face hit the scaffolding pole. This is what he said. And you saw that picture of him. He says it happened just for wearing his Make America Great Again hat, 18 kids.
Well, it's like if you roll up in my neighborhood in a white hood, the same thing's gonna happen to you. And so that's effectively what a MAGA hat is.
No, but don't do it. Don't do it. No, we can't. And then you would. Okay, then the other side. If you're wearing an Obama Hope shirt, they're gonna punch you, and we're all punching each other nonstop.
It's not
terrible idea. Like I'm sure that I disagree with that guy. I disagree with any guy wearing a MAGA hat, right? And you're a minority, and you think Trump's on your side. Look, I don't have a high degree of respect for your intelligence or your political know-how for sure, right? But that doesn't mean that you assault a guy. We have got to stop this violence. Because and guys, if you're on the left wing, and apparently these were kids, so that That's no excuse. But they're immature, et cetera, but it doesn't matter whether you're a kid or you're an adult. If you're on the left wing, if things start going towards violence, who do you think is gonna win? Okay?
Right.
Who do you think is going to out-violent the other side? I got news for you, it's the right wing. The right wing is gonna resort to more violence, a greater degree of violence, and they'll probably have the cops backing them, okay? And so it's both wrong morally, and it's also incredibly stupid strategically. So it's wrong on 2 counts. And I guess Dallas Frazier guy from the earlier story also felt empowered, like, hey, it's okay, the government's on my side, so I could just assault older people in the streets and get away with it. I'm glad, at least, like I said earlier, that they arrested them. They should arrest those kids who assaulted that Trump supporter as well.
We're gonna take a break.
Yeah, let's do that. See, what you should do is, instead of assaulting people, you should get really worked up and do a talk show like me.
I think that's fair.
Get your aggressions out and hopefully.
Do you feel better?
Yeah, I do after the show.
Good.
Okay, guys, we'll be right back.